Thanks so much. Hi. Well, thanks so much for everybody at Artists Today for having me. My name's Patrick Lichty, and I've been in basically electronic and new media art for about 30 years, and I'm a professor of animation and media design at Zayed University in the United Emirates in the capital of Abu Dhabi. So in the back here, I do all sorts of things. So you can see in my apartment in the back here, these are actually some oil paintings that I did from artificial intelligence, neural net processing of photos of my university. And this is actually a robotic drawing from a robot that I constructed of the founder of the country, Sheikh Zayed. And so what I intend to do this basically is just kind of talk about some of the things that I'm doing just recently. And I'm going to, let's see here, flip over and let's see here, share a PowerPoint. And I've got a little thing here. We can do that. And I'll share the screen. And I'll just go from here. So, as I said, my name's Patrick Lichty, and I was born in 1962 in Akron, Ohio, and in the United States. And this is sort of what I call I've never really been here: mediation, tall presence, and some bad ideas. So this is a lot of what I do has to do what I call mediation, basically taking the world and I see it through a device. It's either through a camera or a computer or something, and it comes out the other side. So that's the tentacles, and that's basically the strange way that I see the world. And basically what this has to do is the fact that I was born and I grew up in a rural area of Ohio, between Akron and Canton. And it's, if you talk about what Luke Skywalker said in Star Wars, saying that if there's a cultural center of the universe, I'm probably about as far away from it as you can get. So I hooked into the internet in 1983, and I became part of these various online groups online at like the New Museum in New York, and there was another place at Postmaster's Gallery called Thingist.net, and I became sort of part of the internet community of New York. And so this is how I kind of built my name in the 90s. And this is actually a photograph from a series of videos I did called 8 Bits or Less that I did with, and from 2003 to 2005 using a Casio WQV1 wristwatch camera that only shot one image every second and a half, and I shot 4 videos of 5 minutes a piece, and it did about 3,000 images, stop motion, and it was kind of a reflection on my having had periodic blindness throughout my life. So another thing that I do is I do electronic art, and so this is a piece called "The Canary is Staying Home," and basically it's a bird cage with a. I'm most of my adult life was in Chicago, so there's a Chicago's Times down below about airplanes and terrorism and that. So basically, this was during the time of heightened alerts in the airports when nobody wanted to fly. So I said, well, the canary's not even going to be in its cage because it's afraid of terrorism. So what happened is that I did another piece called Orange Alert, which is in a number of museums, basically having to say that there was this terror alert system in the United States saying that we're on orange alert, red alert, and I just realized that I was just getting so tired after 4 years of being on orange alert. And I'm just saying, what's happening? What's going on? And so I did this piece because I grew up with like Atari 2600 stuff and Space Invaders and all that, saying that I feel like as an American, I'm living under this shadow of this threat that I don't even really know what it is. They're just telling me that there's an orange alert and there's somebody who wants to hurt me, and I'm not really being told who it is. So I just kind of, it's like, for all I know, it could be space invaders from, as like Independence Day attacking the White House. So anyway, that was a fun piece. So another thing that I was in Chicago, and the NATO summit was in 2010. So myself and a friend of mine, Damon Baker, who actually passed on last week, and Mark Squark and I made a piece where we made augmented reality apps so that you would have A-10 strike fighters going through, instead of raining bombs on the protesters, basically dropping 8-bit hearts of love on them. And I expanded a lot of this AR, augmented reality work, to make apps. This is another one that Mark Squark and I worked on, called Occupy.ar, in which I had this, all you need is love. Basically, you would go to certain places around the world and you would find this. And we had about 45 artists doing that. And it was a really fantastic piece. And actually, the group that we were part of, called Manifest.ar, was the first group to do augmented reality in 2010 at the Museum of Modern Art. And that's my piece. I used to be part of an activist group called the Yes Men, and well, actually dormant. And this is a piece called the Survivaball suit that I actually had invading New York through augmented reality. So what do I do now? In 3 minutes or 5. I work a lot with artificial intelligence art, what they call generative adversarial networks, neural nets, and I've been doing this since about 2017. And these are a lot of the pieces that I've done. I think I'm the first person to have done a classical painting from FaceApp. I think I'm the first person to do that, because I did that, put it up on Instagram, and then the next day everybody else did it. This is a picture of myself from the Cutifying program Maytu, and this is also actually a neural net style transfer portrait of my wife Negin Etasabian from when we first were talking, from when she was in Tehran. And so really, one of my projects that I'm doing now is that I have a background in Asian calligraphy, both Middle Eastern and Far Eastern. So I did 256 non-representational calligraphies, and I put them into an artificial intelligence system. And what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to do what artificial intelligence is supposed to do, is to extract patterns. So what I'm really trying to do is that Noam Chomsky talked about the idea that underneath all our languages, that there's sort of like a deep grammar that's basically biologically wired into our brains. So I'm taking all of these things and I'm putting them into these AI systems and trying to find the patterns to them and see if I can find like the internal consistency in my brain. And this is what I'm starting to get, feeding all of these things into the artificial intelligence system. It's really sort of crazy. And so I'm doing another series and starting to do that again. And I'm also doing this with Persian carpets as well, with working with Negin. So, and I love to just watch this and see whether I can remember any of these patterns and see whether they make sense to me. In other words, it's literally, I'm trying to decode the deep structure of my own subconscious using artificial intelligent, pattern recognition systems. And you can see that things get chaotic, like my own head. But anyway, it's really sort of interesting. I'm also doing performances with my wife, Negin. This is a piece where she and I went on collectively, her on one computer and myself on another. And we did a performance that was projected in Zagreb, Croatia, doing something called live performance, writing for four hands. So we projected from Google Docs and we wrote with each other about the notion of home, because I'm not where we live is not where I'm from and where she's from. So we're in this third place. So that's really interesting. And then she's much better of an analog artist than I am. So we did a paper puppet performance about a writer who has been imprisoned in Turkey for all of his life for being a dissident. And so this was a piece called Reading a Writer from Prison. I believe his name was Altan. And we did this for the Berlin Literature Festival, where I played music and did the cinematography, and she performed with these various aspects of the work. And then, okay, I think I'm going a little bit fast, but I think we'll be all right. So the thing that I'm doing right now is actually something I'm calling confinement spaces, because we've been in isolation for about 90 days now in Abu Dhabi, and I'm serious. Half the time, I feel like I'm going to go nuts. And I think it's great that we have spaces like this where we can connect with each other virtually. And so what I'm doing is that I'm using a 3D scanning app, actually called Displayland. And I'm going around in the places where I can go, or 3 times a week, I do an 8-kilometer walk. And so I'll go someplace and I'll take my phone and I'll just scan it. And this is what I'm starting to get. And this is actually going to be part of a much larger commission that's going to be coming up in September. But the thing is that I find that being confined is almost like having yourself in this space that's almost dreamlike and disconnected from the rest of the world. And so I think this is really well represented in this body of work. So I'm putting these things together as an interactive installation, as video, and then also seeing whether I'm looking at the feasibility of taking these things and printing them out as 3D sculptures. So that's kind of where we're at this point. And so I'll let this run a little bit. And as I said, I also do a lot of robotic drawing. I use basically what they call XY plotters. I use this thing called Axodraw 3, and I kind of pointed back towards, there was the picture of the cat. And there we go. I use plotters for that. And so really, that's a lot of what I've been doing. And then also oil paintings, from these neural net systems. And I think we're at about 14 minutes. And I'm hoping that's okay. So, I mean, there's a lot of work. I mean, I've been in electronic art for about 30 years, and this is really kind of what I'm doing right now. But, and I think it's just totally unfair to try to unfurl 30 years of practice in 15 minutes. But yes. So, what do you think?
I think it's fascinating. Thank you very much. I really, in fact, not only that, but I'm going to go watch it again on YouTube and send it to a friend of mine who does a lot of work with artists and with scientists in a similar vein, something that's, it's beyond me, but I think it's really interesting. Oftentimes people that work in new media don't sort of either utilize the level of intelligence that's there to really kind of dig down into the content, but you seem to be doing that, and that fascinates me. So thank you.
I have a little bit of a background in philosophy as well. So what happens is that I'll usually do a piece of critical writing, and then that's usually where this comes out of. And I've always been interested in philosophy, sociology, performance, and I've also done 15 years worth of performance in the online Second Life, actually, with a group. I have a group called Second Front, And so, you know, these media are really fascinating, you know. And the thing is that I do want to do a slight plug. The people who are I'm working with on the research on the artificial intelligence is a group called Playform.io, which is anybody can use, and they're great. And but there are a bunch of researchers out of Rutgers in the U.S. and they've been great to work with, and I've been helping them drive their research, and they've been just absolutely fantastic people to work with.
So do you have a website? I mean, I can look it up.
Oh, you know what? Okay, guess what? Actually, why don't I just go forward here? Here we go. My contact is void@void.com. PatrickLichty.com. In July, I will update my website because it's about 3 years old, and I'm not really talking about any of this stuff out there. But a lot of this work is out on my Instagram, and that's at Pat Lichty, and that's also my Twitter. I don't use Twitter too much. I'm mainly active on Instagram, which is, I think, where we met. Fantastic. Okay, take care. Thanks again.